My family laughed when my sister called me the mistake child and told me to leave. So I did, and now they regret it. Hi Reddit. I'm still shaking as I type this because everything that happened over the past few months feels surreal. I'm not sure if I'm looking for advice, validation, or just a place to finally get this off my chest. But here goes. The setup. I'm 27, the youngest of 3 kids. My sister Lily is 31 and my brother Mark is 34. Growing up, I always knew I was different. Not in a special, main character way, but in a something's off way. My parents, let's call them Diane and Carl, were never outwardly cruel. They fed me, clothed me, paid for school, the basics. But there was always this subtle distance, like I was a guest in their house instead of their child. They never came to my soccer games. They forgot my birthdays more than once. When I got into a good college, they said, "Oh, that's nice," and went back to watching TV. Meanwhile, Lily and Mark were showered with attention. Every achievement of theirs was celebrated with parties, gifts, and framed photos. Mark got a car when he turned 16. Lily got a sweet 16 bash with a DJ and catered food. Me? I got a cake from the grocery store, if they remembered at all. I told myself it was because I was independent. Maybe I didn't need as much. Maybe I was overthinking it. The family dinner that changed everything. A few months ago, my mom invited everyone to a family dinner. It wasn't anyone's birthday or anniversary, just a random Sunday. Part of me hoped it was their way of reconnecting. I brought a bottle of wine and tried to be upbeat. Mark and Lily were already there with their partners, laughing about some inside joke. Dinner was fine at first, small talk, passing dishes, pretending we were a normal family. Then the conversation turned to kids. Mark's wife is pregnant, and Lily started teasing him about baby names. Someone joked about how many grandkids my parents might end up with. I smiled politely and said, "Well, maybe I'll surprise you all one day." That's when Lily smirked and said, "Please. Like we need another mistake child in this family." Everyone laughed. I froze. Mark actually snorted. My parents didn't even flinch. They just chuckled like it was the funniest thing in the world. I tried to play dumb. "What do you mean, mistake child?" I asked, my voice shaking. Lily shrugged, still smiling. "Oh, come on. You really don't know. Mom and Dad were done after me. You were the oops baby. Total accident. They were like 40 when they had you. You're literally the definition of a mistake." The room erupted again in laughter. Even my mom smiled, as if this was some cute family anecdote. I waited for someone, anyone, to say it wasn't true. Nobody did. Instead, my dad raised his glass and said, "Well, sometimes mistakes turn out alright, right? Like that was supposed to make it better." My chest felt like it was caving in. I muttered, "Excuse me," stood up, and grabbed my bag. "Ah, don't be so sensitive." Lily called after me. "It's just a joke." Walking away. I didn't say another word. I walked out of that house, got in my car, and drove straight home. My phone buzzed with a few texts, mostly Mark sending laughing emojis and Lily saying, "Don't be dramatic." I turned it off. For the next week, I ignored every call. I kept replaying the dinner in my head. The way they laughed. The way my parents said nothing. It wasn't just about being an oops baby. Plenty of people are unplanned. It was about the disrespect. The confirmation of something I had always felt but never wanted to believe. I wasn't wanted. I was an accident they tolerated. The decision. I live in a small apartment about an hour from my parents' house. I had been planning to renew my lease for another year, but something inside me snapped. Why was I staying in this city, this orbit, just to keep getting hurt? I started looking for jobs out of state. Within 3 weeks, I landed a position in another city across the country. Better pay, better growth, better everything. I didn't tell my family. I quietly packed, signed the lease on a new apartment, and set a move-out date. The night before I left, I sent a single group text. I'm moving out of state for work. I won't be at Sunday dinners anymore. Please don't contact me until you're ready to treat me with respect. Then I blocked every number. The fallout. Apparently, my silence caused chaos. I only know this because a mutual friend sent me screenshots. Mark posted some passive-aggressive Facebook status about certain people who can't take a joke. My mom emailed me, I didn't block email, saying she was hurt that I'd cut them off over one little comment. Lily didn't reach out at all, of course. I didn't respond. I focused on my new job, my new apartment, and building a life that didn't revolve around people who clearly didn't value me. The twist. Fast forward 2 months. I get an email from my dad. Subject line, "We're sorry." He wrote that they didn't realize how deeply the mistake comment would hurt me. He admitted they'd been careless and that they should have defended me. He said they missed me and wanted to visit. I stared at that email for a long time. For the first time in my life, my father sounded humble. But here's the thing. An apology doesn't erase decades of emotional neglect. It doesn't erase every forgotten birthday, every empty seat at my games, every laugh at my expense. I haven't replied. Where I am now. It's been 3 months since I left. I wake up in a city where nobody knows my family. I've made new friends. I've decorated my apartment exactly how I like it. I don't walk on eggshells anymore. Do I miss them? Sometimes. They're still my family, and some nights I catch myself scrolling through old photos, wondering if I overreacted. But then I remember the sound of their laughter. The way my mom smiled as my sister called me a mistake. The way nobody said a single kind word. I wasn't overreacting. I was finally protecting myself. Epilogue. Last week, Mark's wife reached out through a work contact. Yes, she's that determined. She said they're planning a family gathering for the new baby and that it would mean a lot if I came. She added, "Your parents are miserable without you." I almost laughed. Where was this energy when they were laughing at me? I told her, politely, that I'm happy for them but I won't be attending. Maybe one day I'll be open to a conversation. But that day isn't today. Final thoughts. If you're reading this and you feel like the unwanted child, please listen to me. You are not a mistake. You deserve love, respect, and laughter that doesn't come at your expense. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. And build a life where you're not the punchline. Thanks for listening. It's been about 6 months since I left my hometown. Life in my new city has become beautifully ordinary. I wake up to the sound of traffic instead of my parents' creaky staircase. I walk to a coffee shop where the barista knows my name. I spend weekends exploring museums and hiking trails, meeting people who only know this version of me. Not the mistake child, not the quiet sibling in the background. For the first time, I feel whole. But my family has not stayed silent. The first crack in the wall. About a month after I ignored my dad's email, a letter arrived at my apartment. Handwritten. The envelope was creased like someone had carried it around for days before finally mailing it. It was from my mom. Her handwriting, neat but shaky, covered 3 pages. She wrote that she never realized how hurtful the dinner conversation had been. That she was ashamed for laughing and for not shutting Lily down. She admitted something I'd waited my entire life to hear. You have always been wanted. We were surprised by your arrival, yes, but never unhappy. I'm sorry we let our own awkwardness about our age make you feel like an accident instead of a blessing. I read that line 3 times. Then I set the letter down and cried until the ink on the page blurred. It was the first real apology I had ever received from either of my parents. But I didn't write back. Not yet. Lily's attempt, if you can call it that. 2 weeks later, an unknown number texted me. Hey. It's Lily. Mom gave me your new number. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long time before replying with a single word. Why? Her answer came quickly. Because I miss you. And because I was a jerk. I didn't mean to hurt you. I almost laughed at the irony. The same sister who called me a mistake now suddenly missed me. I asked her one question. Why did you say it? She replied. Because I was jealous. You're the only one who got to leave. I felt stuck. So I tried to make you feel small. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to respond. Her confession hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just a joke. It was resentment dressed as humor. I didn't text back for 3 days. When I finally did, all I said was, I need time. The baby shower. A month later, Mark's wife sent a formal invitation to their baby shower. It wasn't a text or an email, an actual embossed card with pastel balloons and tiny gold stars. Inside, she'd written a note. We understand if you can't come. But we want our child to know their uncle someday. No pressure. I held that card in my hands and felt a swirl of emotions. Anger at the memory of Mark laughing at the dinner table. Sadness for the niece or nephew I hadn't even met. A quiet longing for the family I used to dream about having. I set the card on my bookshelf and left it there for weeks. Therapy and clarity. Around this time, I started seeing a therapist. I didn't realize how much I'd been carrying, years of subtle neglect, unspoken pain, and the constant need to prove my worth. In one session, my therapist said something that stuck with me. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you control. You decide when to open them, and how wide. That idea shifted everything. I didn't have to choose between total silence and full reconciliation. I could open the door just a crack and see what came through. The phone call. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, I dialed my parents' number. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might hang up. My dad answered. Hello. His voice cracked, like he'd been waiting by the phone for months. Hi, Dad, I said. It's me. There was a sharp inhale. Then silence. Finally, he whispered, I'm so glad you called. The conversation was awkward at first, small talk about weather, work, the city. Then he said the words I'd needed my whole life. I'm sorry. I should have defended you that night. I should have defended you always. I started crying. He started crying. For the first time, it felt like we were two people speaking honestly, not just parent and child playing roles. Before hanging up, he asked if I would consider visiting. I said, maybe. Someday. Not yet. He said he understood. The visit. 3 months later, I decided to go back, not for a holiday, not for a dinner, but for me. I told them I'd visit for a single weekend. No surprises, no ambushes, no family meetings. Just a visit. When I arrived, my mom hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. My dad's eyes were wet. Even Mark, who used to tease me relentlessly, looked nervous. Lily was the last to approach. I'm sorry, she said quietly, eyes fixed on the floor. I was cruel. You didn't deserve it. I nodded. I know. We didn't hug, but we didn't fight either. It was progress. A different kind of dinner. That night, we had dinner together for the first time since that night. It was nothing fancy, roast chicken, salad, apple pie. No jokes about accidents. No passive-aggressive digs. At one point, my mom said, "We're grateful you gave us another chance." My dad added, "We're proud of you, no matter what." For the first time in my life, I believed them. Moving forward. It's been a year since the infamous mistake child dinner. I still live in my new city. I still keep firm boundaries. I call my parents every couple of weeks. I visit when I want to, not out of obligation. Lily and I text occasionally. She sends pictures of Mark's baby, who is ridiculously cute. We're not best friends, but we're rebuilding, slowly, carefully. Most importantly, I no longer feel like a mistake. I feel like a person who chose themselves. Final reflection. People often think reconciliation means pretending the past never happened. But that's not true. Reconciliation, at least for me, means acknowledging the hurt, holding people accountable, and still allowing room for growth. My family will never be perfect. But I'm no longer the quiet kid waiting for their approval. I'm the adult who walked away, built a life, and, when I was ready, opened the door just enough to let love back in. And that, Reddit, feels better than any apology ever could. It's now a year and a half since the night my sister called me the mistake child. And I walked out of that house with my dignity packed into the trunk of my car. Life has become a rhythm I actually choose. I wake up every morning in my sunlit apartment, brew my own coffee, and decide what kind of day I want to have, without worrying about weather. My family approves or even notices. I thought the story might end there. But families have a way of writing unexpected sequels. The baby arrives. Mark's wife went into labor on a rainy Friday in early spring. I found out not from my parents, but from Lily. She sent a simple text. "Baby's here. Healthy. 7 pounds 3 ounces. They'd love if you visited, but no pressure." No pressure. 2 words that carried more weight than any apology ever could. I stared at that message for a long time. For years, pressure defined my relationship with my family. Pressure to forgive without acknowledgement, pressure to stay silent. Pressure to pretend everything was normal. This was different. It was an invitation, not an expectation. After an hour of pacing my living room, I booked a train ticket. Meeting my niece. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and fresh beginnings. Mark looked exhausted but proud. His eyes wide with the kind of awe only new parents know. He placed a tiny bundle in my arms. "Her name is Emily." Emily blinked up at me with eyes so dark and curious. It felt like she was studying my soul. For a moment, the years of hurt and distance melted away. It was just me and this brand new human, who didn't care about old family wounds or dinner table cruelty. All she knew was warmth and the steady beat of a heart against hers. I whispered, "Hi, Emily. I'm your uncle. And I'm never going to let anyone make you feel like a mistake." Something shifted inside me in that moment. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. It was something deeper, a decision to break the cycle. Building bridges through a baby. Over the next few months, Emily became an unexpected bridge. Mark and his wife sent weekly photo updates. Emily smiling in a pumpkin costume. Emily grabbing her first toy. Emily asleep with her tiny fist curled around Mark's finger. Each picture chipped away at the wall I'd built. I started visiting more often. Not because anyone demanded it, but because I genuinely wanted to see her. During these visits, my parents tried their best to respect my boundaries. No guilt trips. No, "Why don't you move back," speeches. Just quiet gratitude that I showed up. Sometimes my dad would linger in the doorway, watching me hold Emily with a softness I'd never seen in his eyes. Once, he said quietly, "You're going to be a great parent someday. I'm sorry we didn't show you enough love when you were her age." The old me would have brushed it off. The new me let the words land. I nodded and said, "Thank you." It was small, but it felt like a lifetime of unspoken feelings finding a voice. A conversation with Lily. One afternoon, while Emily napped in her bassinet, Lily and I sat on the porch sipping iced tea. It was the first time we'd been alone together since that horrible dinner. "I think about that night a lot," she admitted. Her eyes fixed on the horizon. "I hate myself for what I said. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. But I'm trying to be better." I took a deep breath. "I don't know if I can forget it," I said. "But I can see you're trying. And that matters." For the first time, there was no tension between us. Just two adults acknowledging pain and choosing growth. We didn't hug. We didn't need to. The quiet understanding was enough. A different kind of family. The more I visited, the more I noticed subtle changes. My parents started asking real questions about my life. Not just surface-level updates, but genuine curiosity. My mom even apologized again, unprompted. "I wish we'd been more present when you were younger. I can't change the past, but I want to do better now." Instead of the bitterness I once carried like armor, I felt a cautious warmth. I realized something important. They might never be the parents I needed as a child. But they were trying to be better people now. And I had the power to decide how much of that effort I wanted in my life. Bringing Emily to my world. When Emily was 6 months old, Mark and his wife asked if they could visit my city. They wanted a weekend away. And they wanted Emily to see where her uncle lived. I said yes. Hosting them was surreal. For the first time, my family came into my space. A home filled with things I chose. Walls decorated with my art. Shelves lined with books that shaped me. They treated my apartment like a sacred place. No criticism, no backhanded comments. Just respect. One evening, while Emily slept in a portable crib in my bedroom, my dad looked around and said, "You built something beautiful here. I'm proud of you." For years I had waited for those words. Hearing them now, on my own turf, felt like reclaiming a piece of my childhood. Boundaries and balance. Despite the progress, I keep my boundaries firm. I visit when I want to. Not out of obligation. If a conversation starts to drift toward guilt or old patterns, I gently but firmly steer it away. Therapy has taught me that forgiveness is not a single moment, but a series of choices. To stay present, to protect my peace. To recognize effort without sacrificing self-respect. Looking forward. Emily is now 8 months old. She giggles when I make silly faces. And grabs my fingers with surprising strength. Every time I hold her, I'm reminded that the cycle can end with me. She will never have to question whether she was wanted. Not on my watch. My relationship with my parents is far from perfect. But it's real. We've moved from painful silence to cautious love. From a single cruel dinner to shared moments of growth. I don't know what the future holds. Whether I'll ever fully forgive the past. Or whether my family will keep showing up in the right ways. But I do know this. I am no longer the mistake child. I am the person who chose to walk away. Built a life worth living. And came back on my terms. And that, more than anything, is the legacy I want Emily to grow up knowing. Final reflection. When I look back at the night I left, I no longer see tragedy. I see a turning point. Sometimes walking away isn't the end of the story. It's the first chapter of a better one. Because leaving gave me the strength to return. Not as the unwanted child, but as the adult who knows their worth. And that has made all the difference.